it's now time to professionalize, even more so because we need to be a recognized industry and we need to further professionalize because we can't continue the way we have continued. It's been too easy.
You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Slick Talk, where we are live at VRMA. And I say live, not really live, but we are here. And we are sitting down with the best of the best in the industry to give you the best knowledge. And I'm here with a legend, Simon Lehman, who is no stranger to the show. He's been on multiple times, been a great friend since COVID. And I'm just super excited to sit down with him today because we're both opinionated people and I think we can have a good conversation. So, Simon, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will, for having me. And we are both opinionated, but that's what this industry needs, right?
It's fun.
So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, so we've been talking a lot about the conversations happening here at VRMA. And right before we hit record, I asked you the question of, can I ask you if our industry is growing up? Do you think our industry is finally going through a growing up phase now with entrance of companies like Capital One, Homes and Villas by Marriott? There's some professionalism and some bigger brands coming into the space. And I want your thoughts on how kind of the short-term rental management companies are evolving with the more adoption of this type of travel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question and made me think immediately, has it really or has it not? And I think we're at the pivotal point. So while the market is softening, you can clearly see lower attendance at VRMA. So that's a sign. What is the sign? We have oversupply, ADRs have come down, we have we have economical challenges, etc. So that's already an effect. And I think, and then on top of that, we have further and further impact from regulational matters as well. So I think now, if it hasn't really professionalized, it has over time, of course, for many years. We have a lot of technology and everything else, but I think now it's a clear sign after these incredible years that we have seen for the past few years that everybody's sort of worried, do we go through another COVID? No, we won't. But it's now time to professionalize, even more so because we need to be a recognized industry and we need to further professionalize because we can't continue the way we have continued. It's been too easy.
Yeah, you say that again. It's been too easy in the sense of, I think, yes, the Airbnb side of being able to take a home, list it, get money, that's, I think, great for an overall, any citizen of the world should be able to do with what they want with their real estate, in my opinion. But it does open up a door for the unprofessional side, right? Like grandma's old sheets and lack of cleaning and details. So with everything, kind of just, you and I have had a lot of conversations, Simon, with operations, with culture, with being profitable, and technology, regulations. Where's the gap?
Yeah. I had so many conversations in the last 2 days. Can't even remember how many there were.
Oh, yeah, I know. My brain's like, what?
But, and we talked, my theme this year at VRMA is about standards and accreditation, right? Yeah. We need to do something. And I made this analogy with one very simple thing. If you want to be an Uber driver, you need a car.
Yeah.
But what you also need is a driver license.
Yes.
In our industry, you don't need a driver license. So that's where the problem starts, right? And when you're going to the hospital and getting operated on your heart, you're sure that your surgeon actually has a medical degree, right? Because otherwise he wouldn't do the job that he's doing. And in our industry, this is not happening. There's no way of education. There's no accreditation or education universities that actually you can learn our job. The only thing you need is an apartment or a place and you're off to the races, right? And I think that has Airbnb has fueled that because it's become very easy from a marketplace standpoint. But I think now with regulation coming in harder and harder, we're all being hurt. And I'm representing, or we at AGL and ourselves, we're representing the professional managed side of the industry. And now it's time to really bring this conversation to the surface and say, okay, well, how does a driver license in the professional property management industry look like, right? And how can we, because that will help us also to have conversations in regards to regulations, for example. We're being all hurt for the reason that is unfair in a way for professional managers who know what they're doing as well, right?
Well, can I ask you, so I don't disagree with the driver's license analogy. I think that's a very well put statement. My question is, I don't think accreditation, I don't think a badge on my website or some kind of, you paid a $50, $800 a year fee to be accredited and verified is the solution. That's what we've seen a lot in this industry.
Yeah. And I could not agree with you there. I have served on the board of one of the largest carbon offset foundations in Switzerland for 10 years. And the carbon world is splattered with labels, right? And this is where you need to make the differentiation and need to really think about, we don't need labels, right? Yeah. We don't need, like this doesn't improve trust from a guest standpoint either. So we need to find a better way in how we can, like an independent organization, one of which could be an association or like a rent responsibly, to think about what kind of process can we drive where you can get a professional accreditation for what you're doing. Yeah. So this could include education and everything else. So I don't see this just as a label or a badge at all.
Okay.
Actually, I see this as a clear accreditation process where you have to go through training and things like that so you can get that license. Because regulation is hurting us and we only want to fight regulation to fit our own needs. We need to bite that bullet and say, okay, I remember 20 years ago when I entered this space, hotels were all over us because hotels need to have fire extinguisher, they need to have health and safety. We need nothing in our industry. And we need to bite that bullet and say, okay, we're willing to improve that to protect our profession, right? So I think we need to make this happen. The way we need to still sort this out, because interestingly enough, a lot of people here at the conference are also staying at rentals, right? And to be perfectly honest to you, I had last night at the party and all the conversations we're having, not one is telling me I had a great experience.
No.
Like, I just had a conversation with Steve from Operto where the locks didn't work. And this makes me cringe.
Oh,
right?
Steve and I stayed in a place in DC where the lady had 2 lock boxes with changing manual codes on us without telling us, and we couldn't figure out how to get in the place.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a smart lock and it was dead.
That's right. So Steve and his team couldn't get into the property. Yeah. So they tried the 1-800 number and they said on Sunday, we're not serving.
Wow.
This doesn't happen. No. So the standard is we need to be available 24/7. That's the standard.
Yeah.
And then we fuel that standard into the accreditation process and say, we need to be available 24/7. We need to provide a solid guest experience. We can't afford, because if somebody, and yet again, if somebody has bad experience in their Airbnb, for example, then the entire industry is hurt because they come back and say this rental was a crap.
Yeah. It is rough. It's because I have admitted this to Brandy and Michael and everybody on the Good Morning Hospitality team is like, I don't stay in short-term rentals. I really don't, unless I'm with my friends going up to the mountains.
And you admit that publicly?
Yes, I don't. I will admit it. It's very rare if I do. I've done it a couple of times, and it's obviously you got to taste your own product a little bit. But it's like, outside the Robin Cragans, I haven't had good experiences, right? I got to stay and moving.
But you're not paying $5,000 a night.
No, yeah, correct. Thank God. Thank you, Robin. Love you. But it's not. I don't know. It's just really hard. Like, I love what we do. And obviously I have a management company too, and trying to make sure that we're just putting the best practices in place, especially because we get to hear from people like you and all this other stuff. We have such a vast network, right? But it's still so hard. And sometimes I look at the industry and I think it's just so broke, and not just short-term rentals. Hospitality is broken.
Yeah.
Yes, there's players in Marriott and Hiltons and stuff, but there's just a lot of red tape in some areas, like on the technology side. Anyways, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole if I keep going down that. But for you, like, are you guys already thinking of an accreditation process? Are you guys building one? Are you always thinking about what this driver's license is going to look like? A program?
No, for me, this was a top of mind conversation that was for me triggered in this conference, actually.
Okay.
I mean, of course, yes, we've talked about standards forever, right? Star ratings, all this stuff. We have reviews which keep us in place as well, right? So, but now I think it's a time to take this a notch up in terms of conversation. I haven't made up my mind yet who should own this process, who can make it happen, because it needs to be credible. And that's always hard.
Credible and accessible for every manager, right? Like, it's not just for the ones that are doing good money profits. It's like everyone needs to go have this.
Absolutely. It needs to be serious. It needs to be credible. It needs to hurt as well. And you can also lose your license, right? So licensing a property is only for the regulatory issues, but actually licensing a PMC, I think, is definitely the way to go. We need to increase the depth of this conversation now within our with our community. And make it really a topic and start debating that. In the US, for example, I could clearly see an organization like Rent Responsibly to take this on, right? And also an association like a VRMA could potentially do it as well. But it's going to be heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But I reckon we need to go there because ultimately, regulation could also have such a tough impact on us, but it's regulated the wrong way. And it doesn't solve the actual issues that people have in the destinations and in the communities. And then if we can go out also to the regulators and say, hey, we are now professionalizing this industry. We have professional managers. Because one thing that gets forgotten on the regulation side of you as well is that the SDR customer is a better customer for the destination community than a hotel guest. The hotel eats and sleeps in a hotel and gets all the services in a hotel. A property manager guest goes out and spends money, goes to the shop, he's engaged into the community restaurants and activities and whatever.
Yeah.
And that all gets forgotten because we're not good in bringing our organizations together and talk about these issues. So maybe the accreditation aspect of it could accelerate that conversation as well.
I want to ask you a question around kind of reach and marketing with something like VRMA or even a Rent Responsibly. Like, I love Dave and Alexa and the whole team over there. Shout out to Rent Responsibly. But there's a lot of Airbnb hosts that get into the side of the industry, right? Where they learn about Airbnb, they put their place up, they get into it, they get really excited about the payouts are great and the guests are fun. They're getting reviews, they're learning some technology maybe. But every time I talk to someone who's from that like smaller scale, 1, 5, 10, 15 homes, doesn't have a PMS yet, trying to figure out their business, hectic host. They don't know about VRMA. They don't know about Rent Responsibly sometimes until regulation happens in their market, like Arizona or wherever, right? Like, they don't know about it until it's a little too late sometimes. How can organizations or even companies like mine with media or anybody that can, how do we reach these people when they don't even know it's there? Like, it's a huge industry. They're a huge part of the industry too. There's 80% right there.
I've been in the industry for 20 years. And it's a question that we haven't answered yet. If you think about when you go to the conferences and, also in Europe, I always see the same people at the conferences, right? So I'm trying to go to new conferences. For this year, for example, I went to Colombia and Medellin, which was incredible, 2,000 people attending. There's a lot of hunger.
Yeah.
They can reach these people. Colombia, for example, made the access free for RBOs. So there were hundreds there, right? So the vendors were happy. The engagement was massive. So we need to make these spaces more attractive.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the total membership of VRMA and count the unit counts of all these members, I believe they're representing less than 10% of the North American supply. Mm-hmm. So to your point, something is massively broken here, right?
Yeah.
And we need to rethink the models, the way we can bring this industry in and have these conversations and get them part of it. Regulation is forcing us to have a dialogue, right? But that's too late, right? So we need to definitely find ways. I mean, we've seen on new platforms like IMN and other platforms where bringing different people together, that's more for the investor side, the RBOs going there. But we definitely, we need to become better advocates to attend these type of conferences and get more people coming. But it's pricey, it's time, it's expensive. So we need to think about the model. It's not about making money here. It's about bringing the community together, right? And this model in Medellin, for example, has worked exceptionally well because they made it for small owners free and the crowd was massive, right? And the vendors were happy because they finally got access to these people. And it just works. So we need to rethink that model because VRMA has opened it up to the long tail as well. And it didn't work, right?
Here's the thing that I find so funny. And I have to be kind of neutral here because a lot of our partners are kind of this, like our advertising partners are kind of in this boat. But you open up the door for an RBO, an individual owner, or maybe a new time host who's just trying to grow and scale a business. They can use half of the products here. You know that.
Of course.
Like 50 units or more, 50 units or more. So there's nothing for them. Like they have very little options when it comes to starting at their size and scale where they're at. Not starting at a property management software that's built for a 200 unit management company versus a 20 unit. Like they're just not there. So that's where I'm also thinking like the vendors, I'm sure were happy with that Medellin one, but how many of the people that showed up could have actually used the softwares or the tech? Probably maybe less than 50%.
Yeah, but I think that's a question over time. These type of conversations need to mature over time.
For sure.
And then adoption will start to increase. Look at an AirDNA. AirDNA for me is an incredible example. They're probably the largest player in this exhibition hall today that have access to the top of funnel. Because if somebody starts, the first thing he needs data for his investment, whatever. They have a massive churn rate, obviously, because once they bought the property, they don't need the data anymore. But they have the access to that market. So I think this is where the opportunities lie to bring these, because at the end of the day, the way we grow is help the smaller ones to professionalize. And then the business or the vertical grows organically as well, right?
100%.
All right, I'm back. Sorry to interrupt, but you have to hear about our partners and friends at Hostfully. Not only are they an amazing property management software, they're an amazing team. I've been friends and partners with Hostfully for over 4 years now, and it's been an amazing 4 years. I can't complain because as I continue to grow my business with our property management company, they continue to update and grow their products and features within the Hostfully platform, and it just gets better over time. So with us, we have a unified inbox, we have amazing marketplace, not only for the rest of our tech stack to integrate, which is awesome because I work with so many people, but then the third piece is the distribution is built in. So you don't have to fully rely on a channel manager. You can actually rely on the amazing integrations that Hostfully has with Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, Marriott, Homes and Villas, you name it. They have what you need in order to get your inventory, your properties to the right people. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but I'm going to tell you this anyways. You're going to get a special deal with Hostfully with the link in the show notes. You'll just have to let them know if you love the product and then just tell them that we'll send you. So that way you can get that amazing Slick Talk deal. And of course, we're back to the episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy.
Well, you were talking a little bit earlier. This will be like kind of my last sector and conversation for you. But I think that like you talked about the hotels, they own, like you sleep, you eat, you do everything. You spend all your money in the hotel. That is an extreme model compared to the short-term rental vacation model. Well, like you have vacation rentals, like the guests get to go to local communities, they get to the local shops, they get to do all the stuff they don't get to have in their city. And that's great. But the management company is only making revenue off of their commission. They're 20%, 25%. There's no real share of wallet outside of that. So what are you hearing that allows property managers to actually gain more share of that wallet with their guests? Upsells, outside of late check-in, early checkout, early check-in, late checkout. Like those are the low-hanging fruit, but we need to be owning more of that wallet share.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I've been, as I said, in this industry 20 years, and we talked about upsell 10 years ago, 15 years ago. How can we monetize? It's just become too difficult. Being responsible for third-party services, take a share out of that. The driver for the adventure is not arriving. Whose fault is it? It's the PMC. So this is a tough one, right? But we can definitely upsell as well, like early check-in, late checkouts, midweek cleaning, So there's a lot of stuff we can do with our fruit. Absolutely. And we've done not enough about it. The biggest problem that we had so far it was technologically not enabled, and it was too painful for the PMC to manage. Right? So there's one example, shout out, like Hostco. That's something like, I had a great meeting with Annie Sloan yesterday about her tech. She asked me, who's my competitor out there? It's like, nobody's doing that right now. But she has started to understand that very well. And I think Hostco has now a technology that makes this outsourced. They even provide the service of the PMC is not getting hammered if something doesn't work. Wow. It's actually Hostco.
Nice.
So they made some quite significant changes to their product, which I really started to like. What you can buy within the property and have share of wallet. Yeah. And I think there is definitely opportunities to do that, to capture that better. We're not good in engaging with the guest while in destination at all, right? So I really like that type of technology, and it's doable. Yeah. But until now, this was two main reasons. The PMCs didn't want to have more complexity and pains and whatever. That's probably a problem number one. And problem number two is it was technologically not very well enabled. Yeah. Like the credit card, how do you do payments, all this stuff. Yeah. But I think with technology like Hostco, there will be others. I think that's a good start to have that share of wallet on low-hanging fruits.
Well, I think getting more share of wallet too allows more opportunity for hospitality.
Absolutely.
And that's what this industry is built on. We want experiences. We want to be able to offer the private chef and the horseback trail ride and all these things, right?
Absolutely. We're facing so much margin compression already. We're forced to do other stuff.
Yeah, you have to. And I think it's good, but also then you get bogged down by the complex P&Ls and owner statements, and not even just the financial side of this the industry, but the operation itself is a hefty one. You have 5 different technologies that you're logging into every 5 seconds, from dynamic pricing to operations to data to PMS to communication portal.
That's slowly being resolved.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, we're integrating the marketplace, technology is consolidating, PMS is getting stronger.
Fast enough?
Yeah, it will accelerate, I'm pretty sure. And the big PMSs are taking massive market shares. So we definitely see things moving, which is fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely happening. And I don't think it's too long away where you need 6 different technology platforms to run your business. You need to focus on hospitality.
Yes. I love that. That's why I want to back. I want to have conversations of fun experiences that people are hearing about their guests getting their experience with their team or the local blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of hearing people come up to me and say, how many doors you got? How many units? What platform you on? So I totally agree. But that's kind of where I'm thinking is it's more, I hate sounding like a devil's advocate guy. Like I hate sounding like a negative person. Always like, well, this isn't good. This is broken, blah, blah, blah. But it's only because I love this industry. Like you and I have chatted many times that this industry has given us all so much.
No question.
And I wouldn't be able to think about like where I would be without doing this.
Absolutely.
But I think, it's so close to home that you get a little defensive sometimes and you want
it's only normal.
Yeah. You want to do better. So for the listeners, I promise I won't be a negative Nancy the whole time. But Simon, what is top of mind for you these days before we close?
Exactly what we talked about. Standardization needs to continue. Accreditation needs to happen. We need to find fuel to fuel professionalism in our industry, full stop. And I think that's extremely on top of mind. I get up, my consulting firm, we get up every day to professionalize this industry. So we're not going to build it. That's not our job as consultant and advisors, but that's really getting me excited. Technology will evolve. There's a lot of fun stuff happening, but I think that's, for me, going back from this conference, that's on top of mind.
That's top of mind. You heard it. Top of mind for Simon. Better be top of mind for you. So, Simon Levin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Bill. Always is. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week.